Just one more hour until reinforcements, aka me, arrive to save the day. But until then, keep your eyes on the highway and keep on trucking with Jimmy Mack on Road Gang Radio, y'all.
Welcome to Trucking Tributes. I'm your host for Trucking Tributes, Susan Patten. And today on Trucking Tributes, we have a lot to unpack because this company has been supporting Wreaths Across America for many years, and they have just stepped up to the plate in a fashion that is just incredible. So please welcome to the show, Trucking Tributes today, David Pike with NFI Industries out of Camden, New Jersey. David, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Susan. I really appreciate you having me today.
This is going to be fun. We have so much to let our listeners know about in terms of NFI Industries. So let's jump right into it. Who is NFI Industries and how do you operate?
Well, NFI Industries, just a little background, I've been in the trucking industry and the recruitment space for 32 years. And when I joined here 4.5 years ago, I think it's the biggest company no one knows a lot about. It is 93 years old, and it's based out of New Jersey in Camden right now, our corporate headquarters. And we are predominantly nothing but a dedicated carrier. So we have about 4,000 trucks throughout North America and operate about 150, 160 dedicated locations. We have a vast distribution network with about 250 distribution sites that we manage and operate for customers, logistics and brokerage. So we do it all.
What got you into the trucking industry to begin with, David? Why were you so intrigued?
Well, that is a long story, but I will make it short for the sake of what we need to discuss here. I was actually recruiting for the U.S. Marine Corps back in 1990 through 1993, and I had one of the young men that I'd sent to boot camp come back to me and tell me thank you. And that thank you meant a lot to me. And I didn't realize that that thank you was really my ability to help him change the direction of his life. And that touched me, and it became a calling. Then I was offered the opportunity to do this within transportation in 1993 when I got out. And when you can start helping folks across this country who may be underemployed, could be undereducated, could not have the opportunities, but if they're good people, they just want good jobs. And that is a very, very rewarding thing. So over the past 30 plus years, it has been my mission to remind everyone that we touch people's lives. We don't hire people. We don't. We put people in good careers that deserve it. And we change the face of this country by putting people into jobs that actually produce good income and good wages. And that feels good at the end of the day.
It surely does. I can see how that's very rewarding and has kept you engaged in this industry for so long, because what a value it is to improve and enhance someone's life and lifestyle. That's absolutely extraordinary. David, why the U.S. Marine Corps? You had a lot of choices there originally. What is it about the U.S. Marines that got your interest?
Well, I think, I'm from the generation when Gomer Pyle was probably on. That might have been a little bit of it. But all joking aside, it was more about the honor and the pride and the respect that I thought the Marine Corps really presented. It wasn't about an education. It wasn't about a career. But I really wanted to go in there and prove to myself that I could be something above and beyond what I was capable of. And to earn the title of being a Marine was something I'm very proud of. And it really is that discipline, the honor, the integrity of being what a Marine Corps veteran is all about. It still carries on to this day.
I had one driver recently tell me, also a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and I said, why the Marines? Why did you choose the Marines? He said, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right.
That is so true.
I said, okay, I can buy that. I can buy that. How long, David, did you serve, and what did your military service look like?
Well, I served just under 10 years. So my first job in the Marine Corps was working in explosives and ammunition field. So I got to honestly blow a lot of things up and play with a lot of different pieces of ammunition and distribute it and go out with using units, and managed that for about 7 years and absolutely had a blast. Every pun intended, absolutely was one of the funnest jobs you could ever do. Then I went on recruiting duty for my last 3 years between 1990 and 1993. And then I was medically retired because of all things, I ended up breaking my tailbone and doing sit-ups. And so they told me I could not re-enlist. So I busted my butt for the Marine Corps and I did not get to stay in, but I still love it to this day. So it was a lot of fun and I do not regret a bit of it. I wish I would have stayed in my 20, but I just not medically was able to do so.
You literally busted your butt. Now, how
I
many
did.
men can say that and know that that is absolute literal meaning? I busted my butt for the Marine Corps. Absolutely.
That's why I got discharged. Exactly right. I had my 10% disability for that injury, and I'm on my way to nothing much from the VA because of that. But it's still something I'm very proud of.
By golly, it's a great conversation starter too, I'm
It
sure.
absolutely is.
Excellent. I am speaking with David Pike. David Pike is with NFI Industries out of Camden, New Jersey. You are listening to Trucking Tributes. I'm your host, Susan Patten, and Trucking Tributes is brought to you so kindly by the folks at Radio Nemo. We thank them for having us on the show this morning. David, it is no surprise to you, sir, I know, but we've got to share with our listening audience. Wreaths Across America needs trucks. And
Yes.
every day, the mission is growing, which is just phenomenal. How did you first learn about Wreaths Across America's mission?
It just happened chance, honestly, years ago, and have become acquainted with many of the people that work there, much like Courtney and others. Just by nature of being in this space and transportation, you get exposed to these things. But when I joined NFI, 4.5 years ago, I began to realize that NFI was doing a lot more than we realized. Because as you heard me mention, we have our transportation vertical, our distribution vertical, our logistics vertical. So a lot of us, like most companies, we're 18, 19,000 employees. So you don't know everybody. And come to find out, NFI was covering some lanes for Wreaths Across America. We were providing warehouse space for Wreaths Across America. We were providing all the logistics validation for the independent contractors for Wreaths Across America. And collectively, nobody knew that. And so when myself and my team started grabbing a hold of this 4 years ago and quantifying what we did, it really became a mission that we have spread pretty widely throughout NFI at this point. And it has been very rewarding and is something that I know our leadership is all over because it's about the culture and it's about what we do for folks.
And we'll unpack that a little bit more, that mission to remember, honor, and teach. That's what this mission is about on Wreaths Across America Radio. And to tell you that we are impacting lives throughout the country. As I mentioned, we are growing. We, going into 2025, are well over 5,300 participating locations, in addition to Arlington National Cemetery, our first cemetery, of course. But as boots on the ground, our incredible volunteers step up and step forward and say, we will help support this mission. We grow by leaps and bounds every year. We need the trucks. The transportation industry, without a doubt, hands down, makes this mission work and
Yes.
moves our mission forward, as our theme for this year, keep moving forward. And it's so cool, David, that you got into NFI Industries and were able to finally say, oh gosh, we've got bits and pieces here and there, and then to coordinate it all together. Now, Courtney George, our director of transportation, tells me
Mhm.
that this year you are going to be doing 9 truckloads. Is that correct?
Yeah, 9 loads. And for us, it's a little bit of a different model than most of the folks who will be picking up and delivering, as many of the carriers that support Rees are generally one-way over-the-road carriers. It's easy for them to go pick up a load in Maine and take it all the way back to Texas. We're a dedicated carrier. So all my drivers, 90+% are home every single day. So I have to pick up a load up in Maine and get it relayed in order to make it into Indiana or make it into Kentucky or make it down to Arlington or wherever we have to go. Those lanes have to be well coordinated. So it's a pretty large effort for us. I have countless drivers that'll be picking up and delivering into Allentown and to and to Cranberry, New Jersey. And then from there, other drivers will relay them to their destination areas. And then I'll have local drivers make the final deliveries out there in Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and North Carolina, New York. We'll be covering it a lot.
And that brings up such a valid point. Thank you for hitting on that, David, that we If you are a participating carrier, a professional driver, owner operator, and it just feels like it's just too much to get all the way to the state of Maine in order to pick up your load of veterans wreaths, we have 9 operating cross docks throughout the country. And so many loads are just that, to go from Maine to a cross dock, or you can pick up at a cross dock and then travel further on to your actual destination. So tell us a little bit about some of your cross dock operations, David.
Well, through our cross dock, I mean, we are a large enough industry, or excuse me, a large enough carrier, really business, I should say, it's not the carrier side, but with over about 70 million square foot of warehouse space that we directly own throughout North America, it becomes very easy for us to coordinate and set up a location for us to cross dock to, set up to, something of that nature. So we find it very convenient for us to be able to do that pretty much anywhere we need to.
And it is such a blessing for us at Wreaths Across America because, as I said, your carrier can come in, your professional driver can come in, and with those 9 different operating cross docks, and you can go where you need to go and get to that destination. But by golly, the folks, the volunteers on the ground, the location coordinators, all of the volunteers that they coordinate as well to make sure that they have a successful National Wreaths Across America Day. By the way, this year, that's Saturday, December 13th, National Wreaths Across America Day. It is so critical. Each driver, each truckload of veterans wreaths is a critical component of what we do. So it doesn't matter if your carrier is taking a 1 load or you're just taking 1 load. Gosh, I just talked to a gentleman the other day who's packed up his 14-foot trailer and has done over 2,000 wreaths and has done 5 stops in all
Hmm.
states. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that conventional van. Courtney George is always telling us, our director of transportation, that only 2 things she can't load. That would be a tanker and a flatbed. But we build relationships throughout the trucking industry, and we work with companies just like NFI Industries to match relationships to make it possible. So if in fact there is a will, there is a way for you to participate. And please don't be listening to Trucking Tributes today thinking, maybe this, maybe that, because they are exceptional in the transportation sector of Wreaths Across America of
Very
making
much so.
it happen. And Courtney says, if you want to participate, if you want to be part of this mission to remember, honor, and teach, we are going to find a way to make it happen for you. So, what can you tell me about some of your drivers, David, in terms of do you select veterans? What is your process? How do you work that all through?
Well, we do absolutely. As large as we are, with about 4,000 company drivers, we have a good segment of our drivers that are veterans. So we generally know who they all are. We track that and monitor that. So we have one that's been doing it. This will be the 7th year for Rees. We have others that'll be the 2nd and 3rd year. And so we have a few of our operations managers, more than a few actually. And some of our operation directors that are all veterans as well. So it is really near and dear to their heart. And I think that the piece that Reeves touches is something bigger than most of this audience really knows. We see so many veterans organizations that support our military, but so many of them are what I call a singular cause or touch a very small percentage of the veteran population. But for those of us that have served, and for those of us who have families that have served, that now expands so broadly how many people it touches, from aunts and uncles to children to siblings to spouses that have sacrificed. And when you start looking at that, I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure it's touching 20 to 30% of our US population when you realize that veterans as a whole, especially those who have passed and served and sacrificed as they have, and that we're tributing with these, that's a large segment of the population. So for us, it is a very worthy cause because we can hit more of our employees, more of this nation's citizens by honoring their loved ones, regardless of how far down the family chain they were.
And David, you're used to Wreaths Across America. You've been with us for a while. We're always saying it, and it is true to heart. And you just illustrated it with your description. the family serves,
Yes,
just the person putting on the uniform, but the family as a whole. And so many of our families are impacted. And, that's what we always say when you look at Wreaths Across America. We're not decorating graves at Christmas time. That's not what this mission is about. The slogan, the mission, remember, honor, teach. And we're teaching that younger generation the value of freedom, to understand that freedom is not free. There is a sacrifice, and every single person in the family of the member who is serving is making a sacrifice and makes a sacrifice daily, and they're doing it. So you're so right. The mission touches so many lives throughout the country. And
absolutely.
last year, we distributed 3.1, 3.2 million veterans wreaths. And we know that we have already grown in 2025 by over 300 locations. And even as we speak, volunteers are stepping up saying, we will start a location. What does it take? It takes just that. First of all, your will to get involved, your motivation to get involved, connect with your community cemetery, ask permission to start a Wreaths Across America location if you don't have one already, and get signed up with us. And you are truly ready to rock and roll and get involved with the mission. And it's something that is non-political. It's every walk of life that gets involved, and every individual that is touched by this mission. So thank you. Thank you so much, David, for pointing that out, that it has that trickle down effect, if you will. Yeah. So now
Yeah.
you must get started. I mean, you've got so many, and we haven't even touched on everything that you're doing for us. You
Mhm.
must, when do you get started? When do you start rattling your cages and getting folks involved? And what does that look like at NF?
Well, as large of an organization as we are, we really started this year probably around the end of Q1. So March, April timeframe, we were already beginning to reach out to our drivers, reach out to Courtney to make sure we were aligned with everything. The real earnest effort has been started in the past 60 days. We like to be about 90 days out when we're really in full gear to support wreaths. So it to me is a year-long event. We take I guess a break for what it's worth between about December 13th of this year. We probably won't pick back up wreaths until probably February or March of next year.
Well, as we all joke at Wreaths Across America, David, we all need to have a little breathing room.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But I've got to go back on something you touched on, Susan, about getting involved. And I think it's important for everyone that's listening today. Unlike so much effort that we all as a company have to put in to generate volunteer and generate support for any organization, Wreaths Across America has got one of the broadest support systems that we've ever been exposed to. As a company, it makes it easy for us to come to you and say, how do we help? And at the end of the day, the resources are there to guide us down the path that we need to go to. Whether it's Courtney, whether it's yourself, whether it's the folks that are lining up our loads, creating donation platforms for our company to go into, it doesn't take a lot for anyone at a company level to say, this is a pretty easy way to get involved. And it's just time. More often than not, I mean, we know obviously dollars are important in any charitable organization, but in this case, time. I mean, just to go volunteer a few hours on a Saturday morning, to me and to many veterans is extremely important. Susan, we've heard it. It's out there on some memes. It's out there in the social world. But people die twice: is when they pass away from this earth and their soul leaves, and the second we stop speaking their name. So I want to continue this cause and help grow it, because every one of those tombstones out there is a story and was a human being. And we need to speak their names and remember who they are and why they sacrificed. And I think when we as a nation humble ourselves to do that, we really erase a lot of the divides that we have in this nation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So beautifully stated, David. Thank you for that. And we are always humbled, particularly on Wreath Day, when we see the amount of families who come out. And of course, as we say, when you place that veteran's wreath on the headstone, we ask them to do just that. Please say their name aloud. I have one of the most fun stories to share with you out of Arlington a couple of years ago, when a family, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful to to witness, and I do a lot of the photography. And I was following a young family around, and they had little tots, little toddlers. And I think the veterans wreath was almost as big as she was. And it was so precious. And she stopped and she said a little prayer and she put the wreath down, and then she just got this just screwed up look on her face of real concern. And she stopped and she looked up at her dad and she said, "Daddy, I can't say this name." She couldn't pronounce and she couldn't pronounce the name, and it was just precious because he said, "Sweetheart, do the best you can do." And it reminds me, and it reminds all of us of the conversations, the teaching that's happening when families bring their young kids out to participate in wreath laying ceremonies throughout the country. It is just precious to overhear the conversations, the opportunities to teach about history, teach
Mhm.
about service, teach about all those things that are so important to our mission as we remember, honor, and teach. It's just extraordinary. Now, I understand, David, that you've got some trucks that are probably going to be part of our annual wreath escort to Arlington National Cemetery.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that? Do you know who the driver is yet?
Yes, we absolutely do. It is our gentleman this will be his seventh year delivering for you guys.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. Absolutely.
Yes. So he is a veteran that I know personally. We won't share the names yet today, but we have gone to him, and he is a proud veteran, much like myself, who loves this company. He's been with the company for quite some time. But he's like so many veterans that leave the service. Many of us struggle to find our way when we leave the service, and that was him, just like me. And I found my niche into the transportation sector, much like he did, and he's fallen in love with NFI as I have. And so we communicate periodically throughout the year, just as friends, like so many of our veterans do, which NFI has a wonderful employee resource group, and it's one of them is just for veterans. So we're able to all congregate once a month and communicate through chat and talk about issues, talk about programs, talk about charities like Wreaths Across America. So it really helps us promote just goodwill in general to all veterans, and lets the non-veteran community at NFI understand our struggles. Because I do think that they're unique. We've seen things, done things, been places that few people ever will or have ever experienced. And for many of the folks that do support our veterans organization, getting that community together is extremely strong. So Jason, which is his first name, that's all I will share. But Jason has done this will be the seventh year, a wonderful employee for us, and we're excited for him to be able to do it. So we're getting everything decked out for him, getting all the media coverage that we need to do for internal promotions all set up, and it'll be a good opportunity for him.
I'm very excited. I'm going to seek him out now that I know,
Yes.
and absolutely get a quick interview with Jason as well. And everybody, thank you so, so much, because it does mean so much to our veterans. And so many of our carrier companies like NFI make sure that their priority is to give the veterans wreath load to a military veteran in their company if they can. And so many of our companies do that. So it just has that powerful, powerful statement and meaning behind it for doing the to wreaths escort and to take
Hmm.
loads elsewhere. It's not just
Hmm.
for it. And many of our location coordinators make sure that when that truck is coming into their location, they go above and beyond in terms of providing police escort and Patriot Guard riders. And they make sure that they also have a very, very special entrance into their location or their cemetery or however they are set up throughout the country. And again, well over now 5,300 participating locations, wreaths across America this year, in addition to Arlington National Cemetery. And David, that's because individual citizens will get online or will call and say, "I want to sponsor a veterans wreath, a $17 veterans wreath." As you pointed out earlier in our Trucking Tributes interview, has such a tremendous impact all throughout the country. It really is exceptional and extraordinary to know that the patriotism is truly, regardless of what you see in the media or don't see in the media, patriotism is alive and well in this country, and people understand the mission to remember, honor, and teach. You are listening to Trunking Tributes on Radio Nemo. Thanks for the name Nemo crew for having us on. I'm your host, Susan Patten. I'm speaking with David Pike of NFI Industries out of Camden, New Jersey. By golly, they they got all the information together. They figured out how over the many years that they have been participating with Wreaths Across America, and it really is exceptional. 9 truckloads this year. There's going to be one of the drivers will be in the annual Wreath escort to Arlington National Cemetery, operating cross docks and truly engaging so many people within their company, NFI Industries. David, what are we not chatting about that you think is super important to relay to folks?
Well, I think there's several things that we could share, but one that's near and dear to my heart, and you touched on it just before the break, that, our country has always had a difference of opinions politically at many, many times. But every one of us who's raised our right hand who swore to defend and uphold the Constitution of this United States and to protect our freedoms. We didn't care about religious backgrounds. We didn't care about political ideations. We didn't care about any of the labels that we talk about so much on social media. Every one of our veterans defended everyone's rights. And that's why I think from a very high level, we all have to have that moment to be humble, regardless of our affiliations, titles. We're still all Americans and we're all still free, and we're still free to have those opinions. And we all have to learn how to respect and honor everyone's viewpoint, whether we agree with it or not. And every veteran that has served, every family that has supported their service members, all fought for the same reasons. And if we don't remember that, then I think we've got bigger issues. And we've got to remember that's what this country is about. It's our freedoms as Americans, and to celebrate the joys that we all have because of that. And in doing so, this is where I think it ties into finding those organizations like Wreaths Across America to where they are very ambiguous. It is not biased to any set. We honor all Americans who've served this country to protect our freedoms, and we will remember their names.
Well, David Pike, you've got me welted up with tears. Couldn't have said it better. And coming from a man who has served our country, has worn the uniform, has made those sacrifices in order to protect our citizens and protect our constitutional freedoms, that was exceptional. And yes, from your lips to God's ears, sir. Absolutely. And that's what we are about, is to remember our fallen, honor those who serve and their families, and teach the next generation
Yes,
the value of that freedom, and we still fight for it every day. So, David,
we do.
I can't thank you enough. I can't thank all the folks in your team at NFI Industries for supporting the Wreaths Across America mission the way you do, for stepping up and stepping forward and saying we are going to keep moving forward to be sure that the Wreaths Across America mission continues. Thank you again. I so appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, and we really look forward to meeting your team and seeing more of you folks in December here in Maine.
Likewise, Susan, we do thank you very much for the opportunity and to continue the partnership that we've had over the years and grow it in the future. So thanks to Wreaths Across America. It is our pleasure to NFI.